Thank you very much for having me. I also wanted to thank Metals Investor Forum for having me here. All of you for making it out. He's one of these first in-person conferences, forums that are out there. It's fantastic. Secondly, I wanted to thank Peter for doing such a great job in outlining why silver is the trade of the decade. I think we can all agree that there's enough fear and inflation out there, and certainly need to just look at something like lithium to see what the green economy is doing to metal prices. I will be making forward-looking statements. Take a close look because there will be an exam at the end of this. What I tend to look for is the 4 Ps. Just for 30 seconds, my background, I'm originally a geologist and then spent 34 years as a mining analyst on the street. Ended up retiring in December 2019 as the head of Canaccord Genuity's Global Equity Mining Research Team. One of the first things I did was join the board of GR Silver in April 2020, became the chair of the board in June 21, and then as of last week somehow ended up as the CEO of the company. So if I fluff this, you'll know why. What I wanted to do is join the founder and president, Marcial Fonseca, in advancing this really special project, Plomosas, in Sinaloa, Mexico. And I have a lot of respect for Marcial, what he's done, and having the vision to consolidate this former district and then advance it, compile all of the historical data. This project was compiled or made up of 3 different projects that he put together. So we have you can see in brown here, approximately over 700 square kilometers of ground. The core in the middle is just over 400. You can see that outlined in red in this particular picture, over 400 square kilometers. We've retained the non-core for optionality purposes going forward while we focus on the core portion. This is another view of the Plomosas project. We're located just about 3 hours outside of Mazatlan, 1 hour to El Rosario by highway, and then 2 hours by dirt road. And you can see the road access off to the north, so the easy road access throughout the property. 2 former producers, so there are power lines running directly to site, and we have existing permitting and existing ejido agreements. There are 3 ejidos involved. That's all in place, and so the timelines and the risk are lower than you'd expect from what can actually be a greenfields project. The real focus here, this is typical Sierra Madre type geology, is these important northwest trending structural corridors that you see in this slide in red. And these structural corridors act as the plumbing system for fluid flow that brings the metal into it towards surface and then allows for deposition. What's also really important is having the presence of cross structures, and those help localize mineralization as well. We have those key geological elements. So what are we going to do in 22? Hey, that rhymes, I like it. There are 2 prongs to our purpose at this point. One is expansion drilling. We have existing resources that add up to about 79 million ounces on a silver equivalent basis. And so the modern geological model that has been resulted from all the historical work here is now being applied. And with the discovery of an extension to the San Marcial deposit, for example, we're demonstrating that that model works. The second prong is infill drilling. We delivered a resource estimate last year, and we are going to demonstrate why we believe the grade is going to increase there. So the first area I want to talk about is San Marcial, and that's in the southeast part of the property, where we have a potential for an open pit and underground silver-focused mine. We've recently completed 8 underground drill holes, 4 of which have been reported, and we believe we've made an important discovery. And what that is high-grade mineralization at depth. It was previously interpreted as just supergene enrichment at the surface. Some people believed it was a VMS for some strange reason, but we've demonstrated that there's a high-grade core that extends to depth. And very importantly, metallurgy is very encouraging. We're getting 90 to 93% cyanide leach. This is a long section through the San Marcial deposit. And you can see the dashed blue area is the extent of previous historical drilling. And there were 52 holes above that, and that gives us an average grade of around 130 grams per ton silver. What we've found is this extension to depth. There are 4 holes that have been reported. 2 of those particularly excite us, where we're looking at 799 grams over 18.5 meters, looking at 299 grams over 38 meters. So a very different type of mineralization that we're seeing up at a higher level. And that's important. Obviously, you want to see those higher grades, but we're also seeing a higher proportion of silver. So the base metals are fading as we go to depth, and precious metals are picking up, including a bit of a gold halo. So that's number one commitment on my part, is to see within 1 year a resource update here that captures what we're seeing at depth. Here you can see the resources on the property. The bottom table is the Marcial area, and you can see again that sort of 110, 130 grams per ton in silver, and can I see that properly? Yes, 130-ish grams on a silver equivalent basis. So the second area I want to talk about is 5 kilometers to the north of San Marcial. It's called Plomosas. It's a former mine, and I know this is a busy slide, but bear with me for a second. The colored blotches there you see are the stopes from the previous mine that was operated in the 90s by Grupo Mexico. And those stopes resulted in approximately 2.5 million tons of production, with an average grade of 190 grams per ton silver, just under a gram per ton gold, and almost 300 grams per ton silver equivalent at today's prices. So you've got these stopes, you've got 8 kilometers of underground development in this historical mine. Again, 190 grams per ton silver historically. So why did we report in August last year a resource averaging around 45 grams per ton? Why is there such a large disparity? Of course, that did not impress the market, and the stock sold off. But we needed to get out there a baseline resource that compiled all of the historical data that we had. Now, this resource was done correctly and conservatively, but there's 3 reasons why we believe that there's an upward potential to that grade. Because 45 grams per ton, let's face it, as some wag put it on Twitter, it's a silver anomaly, not an economic deposit. Agreed. So what are the 3 reasons why we think this is going to go up? 1, if you look at the historical drilling, we were able to validate about 82% of the drill holes. Okay, so that's because we've got core and documentation for those. The other intersections, they went into the resource model at 0 grade. 2, this was a base metal mine. So when the past operators were sampling core, they were looking for the sulfides, for the sparklies. And so the sulfides in the hanging wall of the main breccia and the sulfides in the footwall contact, those were sampled. And what was not sampled was precious metals mineralization in between. And so that goes 0 into the model. But we've got 5,000 underground channel samples that beg to differ. We have twin holes that beg to differ. But that went into the model at 0. And then thirdly, hard to see, apologies, please check it out online or at our booth. That dark blue body is a polymetallic hydrothermal breccia. That was the main body that was mined. And that body has around it a lot actually, of high-grade hits in narrower faults that cut through that main body. So those orangey or brown bodies that cut through there have some very nice high-grade intersections associated with them. That was not the main focus of the previous operators, and so it was considered random noise, not included. What we're going to do is that we're in the process of a very surgical, targeted, efficient, cost-effective infill drill program. And we're going to address those zeros in the resource model due to selective sampling and due to validation. And we're going to start tying together some of those high-grade hits on those high-angle structures at Crosscut. So again, if we're looking at 45 grams per ton on average in Plomosas, I'm not saying we're going to 190 grams per ton, the average from production, but what I am saying is there's a potential to increase that grade, and I think that there's associated with that an important potential re-rating in the stock. That also, we hope to see a resource update within a year. Very quickly now, there's a lot of smoke on this property. As I said, we're talking well over 400 square kilometers with kilometers of strike length of these structural corridors and within those systems of epithermal veins. You can see an area here at bottom right called La Colorada. This is a third-party postage stamp concession within our block, and that concession is generating high-grade gold production at 300 tons per day for a private Mexican company. We've now outlined the northward and northwestward extensions on veins. A couple of weeks ago, we published results that included 2.3 meters of 16.5 grams and of gold and 244 grams of silver. So a lot of upside potential to this, and we will put some money into this as well. Capital structure, 167 million shares, just around 190 million shares fully diluted. In terms of institutional coverage, that's starting to come now from analysts on the sell side. We're currently 29% institutional investors, 7.5% insiders and management with skin in the game, and a 12.9% block owned by First Majestic. That came from one of the properties that we purchased. The rest is retail and high net worth. So I mentioned the new CEO. He's an analyst, don't pay too much attention to him. But Marcial Fonseca, a fantastic president and director. Really excited about working with him, and we have some other great executives on the team. On the board, one of the stars there is Laura Diaz. She's a well-known Mexico City-based lawyer. She's also the former general director of Mines for Mexico. So she certainly knows how that business works in Mexico. Also noteworthy here is Jonathan Rubinstein, who's the former chair of Mag Silver, a very famous and well-known silver story. Close off, a quick shot of one of the stopes at the bottom of the Plomosas mine. You can see the figures there for scale. We're talking well over 20-meter stopes that occur when that polymetallic main body, that hydrothermal breccia, meets these high-angle structures. Stay tuned to that important geological function, part of our exploration model. And I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.